Midnight. The clock chimed. The sound echoed through the empty halls, a reminder of the hour when the world sleeps, but not this house. Silence shattered. Piano music drifted from the attic. Haunting, beautiful, sad. The notes floated down, wrapping the house in a melancholic embrace. Every night the same. I shivered, pulling my blanket tighter. The melody was both a comfort and a curse, a nightly visitor that brought with it a chill. Fear? Yes, but curiosity too. What was the source of this nightly serenade? Who played the piano in the dead of night?
The melody weaved its spell, each note a thread binding me to the mystery. It was as if the music had a life of its own, a story to tell. Couldn't be rats, right? The house was old, but not that old. The creaks and groans of the house were familiar, but this was different. Each note sent a shiver down her spine. She had to know. The music called to her, a siren song that she couldn't resist. Had to see. Pushing away the covers, she took a deep breath. The air was cold, but the pull of the music was stronger. It was time to face the music. She stood, her heart pounding in her chest, and took the first step towards the attic. The journey had begun.
The floorboards creaked. Each step up the stairs was a step closer to the unknown. Shadows danced on the walls, fueled by my flickering flashlight. Whispers seemed to surround me, though I was alone. Or was I?
The attic door loomed, locked, of course. Fumbling with her keys, she found the right one. The lock clicked open. A musty smell wafted out, mixed with the lingering scent of roses. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door. Moonlight spilled through a grimy window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air, trunks and boxes piled high, casting long, eerie shadows, and there it stood, a grand piano, its ebony finish gleaming faintly.
But I wasn't alone.
Seated at the piano, a woman. She was playing, lost in the music. Her white dress shimmered, almost translucent. Her fingers moved effortlessly across the keys. This was no ordinary woman. This was a ghost. She didn't seem to notice her. Her melody ended on a mournful note.
He promised, she whispered, her voice a sigh. He promised he'd return.
Who? I asked, my voice trembling.
She turned, her eyes filled with a deep sadness.
My love, she said, her gaze distant. He went to war, but he never came back.
She clutched a tarnished silver locket. Her grief was palpable, a heavy weight in the air.
Her story broke my heart. She wasn't scary, just heartbroken. I'm so sorry, I said, my fear replaced by empathy. I'm sure he loved you very much.
She looked at me, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Do you think so? Do you think he'll come back?
I didn't know what to say, but I couldn't leave her like this. I'll help you find out, I blurted out. Let's find out what happened to him. We spent days in the local library, poring over old newspapers and war records. The library was a labyrinth of forgotten stories and lost souls, each corner whispering secrets of the past. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and the faint, lingering presence of those who had once walked these aisles. We were determined to uncover the truth, no matter how deeply it was buried in the annals of history.
The ghost, whose name I learned was Eliza, guided me. She remembered his name, his regiment, the date he left. Eliza was a spectral figure of grace and sorrow, her translucent form shimmering with an otherworldly glow. She had been searching for decades, her heart tethered to the past by a love that transcended time. Her voice, though soft and ethereal, carried the weight of her longing and the pain of her endless search.
Finally, we found it. A small article, a list of names, casualties. The ink had faded, but the sorrow it conveyed was still palpable. Each name was a story cut short, a life sacrificed in the chaos of war. As we scanned the list, the weight of history pressed down upon us, a reminder of the countless lives that had been irrevocably altered by the conflict.
Eliza gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her eyes welled up. The realization hit her like a tidal wave, the culmination of years of searching and hoping. Her ethereal form seemed to flicker, as if the intensity of her emotions threatened to unravel her very essence. The library, once a place of quiet reflection, now echoed with the sound of her grief.
I read the name, her love. He never stood a chance. He died a hero, but he was gone. The name on the page seemed to glow with a tragic significance, a testament to a life lost too soon. Eliza's love had been a brave soul, his sacrifice a poignant reminder of the cost of war. As I read the name aloud, I felt a connection to the past, a bridge between our world and the one that Eliza inhabited.
Eliza sank to her knees, her sobs echoing through the silent library. The sound was haunting, a mournful melody that resonated with the very walls of the ancient building. Her grief was a tangible force, a testament to the depth of her love and the pain of her loss. As she knelt there, surrounded by the remnants of history, I realized that our search had not only uncovered the past, but had also brought a measure of closure to a soul that had been wandering for far too long.
We returned to the attic. Eliza sat at the piano, her fingers tracing the keys. But this time there was no sadness, only acceptance. She played a soft, gentle melody. It was then I saw him. A young man dressed in a soldier's uniform materialized beside her.
He smiled down at her, his eyes filled with love. He reached out, and she took his hand.
They were together again, finally reunited after all these years.
Eliza turned to me, a grateful smile on her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "You helped me find peace."
She turned back to her love and they began to fade. The music swelled, filling the attic with a bittersweet melody. It was a farewell, a thank you, a promise of peace. As the last note faded, they were gone. The attic was empty, but the air felt lighter, happier. The clock chimed midnight. Silence. No haunting melody. The air was thick with an almost tangible stillness, as if the house itself was holding its breath. The old clock, a relic from another era, stood as a silent sentinel in the corner, its hands frozen in time. Midnight had always been a significant hour in this house, a time when the past seemed to whisper through the walls, just the gentle creak of an old house. The wooden beams, aged and weathered, groaned softly as they settled into the quiet of the night. It was a sound that had once been unsettling, but now it felt like a lullaby, a reminder that the house was alive in its own way. Each creak and groan was a testament to the years it had stood, sheltering generations of stories within its walls.
Eliza was gone, reunited with her love. The house felt different now, peaceful. The once restless spirits that had haunted its halls were now at rest. The air was lighter, the shadows less oppressive. It was as if the house itself had sighed in relief, finally free from the weight of unfulfilled longing. Eliza's presence had always been a bittersweet one, a reminder of love lost and found again.
I walked over to the piano and noticed a single white rose lying on the keys, a final gift. The moonlight streamed through the window, casting a soft glow on the rose. It was a symbol of purity, of love that transcends time and space. The piano, once a source of sorrowful melodies, now seemed to hum with a quiet joy. The rose was Eliza's way of saying goodbye, a token of her eternal love. I smiled, a single tear rolling down my cheek. Eliza might be gone, but her love story would stay with me, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love can find a way. That tear was not one of sorrow, but of gratitude. Gratitude for having witnessed a love so profound, so enduring. It was a love that had defied the boundaries of life and death, a love that had brought peace to a haunted house. And as I stood there, I felt a sense of calm wash over me, knowing that Eliza's story would live on, a beacon of hope for all who would come after.